Welcome to tonight's presentation. The purpose of the presentation is to build our confidence around shelter resident transition SRT dashboards. It does not replace any of the existing courses. My name is Yi-Wei Chan. I've been a volunteer with the Red Cross for 16 years. During steady state, that's when I'm not responding to disasters. I'm the Pacific Division Training Event Planner and the Pacific Division's Feeding Co-Lead. And during operational state, I usually deploy as the Master Chief or HQ Sheltering Manager for national level operations. And currently, I'm supporting the DR 672 for wildfire readiness and capacity building. Several housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded and it will be posted tonight on our Pacific Division Red Cross YouTube channel. The link will be posted in the chat. Please enter your full name in the chat so your hours can be tracked. I'll enter them on volunteer connection for you. Your mic and camera have been disabled. Please enter your questions in the Q&A. That's to the left of the chat. And if you're on your phone, if you click on the three dots and you'll see the Q&A option. The chat scrolls too fast and I won't be able to catch the questions if you don't put them into the Q&A. I'll pause in between each section if time allows. If not, I'll address the questions at the end of the presentation. This session is meant to be interactive. I'll be asking you to put your answers in the chat when we're going over the dashboards. So let's get into it. Okay. So today what we'll be covering is we're going to provide you with an overview of the ops order, and we'll share with you all the dashboards that we have. I'll supply you with the SRT resources, and I'll share with you what the next steps are, whether it's courses or access. And if we have time, we'll hear from Braden to hear the lessons learned from his SRT deployments. And of course, we'll conclude with Q&A. So we currently have an ops order for 008 for the Pacific Division Wildfire Readiness. The reason that we established this order is because it's projected that we have above normal significant wildfire potentials for almost every region in the Pacific Division. Shelter resident transition, that's SRT casework, is approved for this operation. Usually, SRT is approved for level 4 and above, and for this ops order, we're using the protocol for level 4 and above. That's why this is approved. Los Angeles region has a DR, and the DR number is 672. And I want to take a moment to thank you so much for all those of you that are currently on standby or are going to take future shifts for standby. Thank you all so much. Let's go over the planning assumptions. So we have 5 months from June 15th to November 15th. The anticipation is each region, we're going to have at least one level 3 across for each region across the division. We'll talk about levels later on in the slides. And we're also assuming that as a division, we'll experience at least 1 level 7, 2 level 5, 3 level 4s, and 20 level 3s and below. Our assumption is we're going to respond continuously to provide mass care activities. Our assumption is that we don't have sufficient organic response workforces for self-sustaining for the whole entire period for 5 months. And another factor is that we're competing with other divisions for human and material resources. Along basins, they will have hurricane seasons. They already started the hurricane seasons and it's projected to end by October. So we established this operation order so we can better serve our clients. Our commander's intent is for us to have the capacity to effectively and efficiently to initiate and deliver near continuous mass care services in response to the wildfire across the division, without overwhelming the division and regional DCS workforce. And I want to take a moment again to thank everyone for being available to support our disasters and our workforce. I encourage you to go on Volunteer Connection to update your availabilities. Even if you're not available, please update that so we know who to reach out to and if you're not available. So we mentioned Pacific Division quite a few times. So where is exactly Pacific Division? So if you look at the map, and if the map is too small, you're able to zoom it. If you're on the phone, you can just zoom it by your hand. If you're on a computer, there's the lower right-hand corner, there should be a zoom button that you can press on. So everything that is on the rose pink, that is Pacific Division. We have 10 regions total. LA region is the only region that has one county. So we have California, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Alaska, CMI, Guam, Hawaii, and American Samoa. So you can see we have a large territory. Now the budget piece. I get asked a lot that, what do you mean you have a national level disaster? What is a level 6? So the levels are determined by the expected field operation budgets. That includes the financial assistance that we give to our clients. That includes the SRT resources that we give to our clients. That also includes all the human and material resources that we need. Let's say we need to rent a space for headquarters. Those are factored in. If we're using shelter trailers, the supplies, the cost also goes in there. And for the flight cost for our staff lodging, those are calculated in there as well. So for level 1 operation, that's a regional operation, that is anything less than 10,000 or below. Examples could be single family fire or multifamily fire that you issued a few CAT cards to the clients. Level 2 operations are also regional. Those are anywhere between 10,000 to 50,000. And examples can be multifamily fire that you have 50 units that needing assistance, or that you have a small forest fire that we open a shelter for that you have probably a few clients overnight. Level 3 is divisional response. That is anywhere between 50,000 to 250,000. This is the level that we're currently on for the current disaster relief operation. So those can be a moderate seasonal fires or your floods. Those belongs to the division for the operational control. Then you have level 4 to 7. Those are national level operations. So for example, Kentucky floods in 2025, those are level 4 operation. Hurricane Francine in September of 2024, that is a level 5. And a Hurricane Idalia back in 2023, that's a level 6. And the most recent Los Angeles wildfire in January, that is a level 7 operation, where the anticipated budget was over $10 million. We mentioned earlier that we have significant wildfire potentials for the whole entire Pacific Division. And if you look at the maps, this is a screenshot that I took today. This was issued a few days ago, August the 1st. Red means that we have above normal fire risk. And if you look at it, all the Southern California regions, you have red out there so that we have potential for more fire risks. I want to pause here to see if we have any questions. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the SRT dashboards. And for the goals that we're working on today is how we can support our disaster relief operation leadership in decision-making by reviewing all those dashboards. We will go to live versions right now, and allow me a second to switch my screen. Okay, here we go. Let me maneuver several things real quick. Okay, so for the purpose of this presentation, I've already preloaded all the screens that I'll be using. And for you that you're not logging into any of the device, you would go to volunteer connection first, and you will go ahead and go to OneSource. And from here, for the search box, you will type in SRT monitoring checklist, and you come to this page. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is National Operations Summary. And if you don't have access, I'd encourage you to reach out to your supervisor, whether it's your community disaster program manager or disaster program specialist or myself, that we can get you access by requesting an IT ticket on Volunteer Connection. I'm going to give you a minute to read this note. On the left is what is being monitored. On the right is why it's being monitored. And while you're reading, I want you to think of the question as, for all of those, what do you think is the most important piece and why? And if you can type that in the chat. Okay, I see one answer, the triage completion at the start. Okay. And Kevin, can you type into the chat, why is that important? Why do you think that's the most important piece? Do we have any other answers from the chat that based on what you're seeing so far, what do you think is the most important piece? Okay, how many client caseworkers are needed? Okay, great. All of the above. Can you tell me why do you think it's all of the above, Kathy? That's Kathy Foley. Do we have any other answers from the group? Braden, Vesta, Peter, Timothy, anyone? I'll give another 20 seconds and we'll go to the next one. Thank you so much. I cannot tell who JS is. Thank you for coming to the training. Okay, Timothy says service delivery planning. Great. We need to know the total number so we can plan for the size of the operation, household members. Great. So I would agree that the most important piece is the triage completion percentage. Oftentimes you'll see on the incident action plan, the IAP, one of the objectives or the top objectives would be 100% completion of the triage. And the reason the triage completion is so important is that without that to be completed, all the other things that you see on there, the total number of household, the unique shelter client needs wouldn't have any meaning to it. So for example, if you have 100 clients and you only had one client triage completed, and let's say that person is an owner versus the rest of the 99 people, 99%, they're pre-disaster and housed population. The whole thing, the 1% won't have, because if this is 1% and you have everything as 100, that doesn't mean anything when you have only one person, as owner. As multiple people mentioned, that when you have 100% completion on the triage, then you know how many caseworkers to request. You know how we can deliver our service. The leadership will know how to make decisions and what services and partners we need to bring in. If you have a large population of homeless populations, then we need to bring a lot more external partners compared with everyone is an owner. So I would agree that everything is important, but the most important piece is the triage. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual dashboard. And again, for this purpose, I've already preloaded. For your purposes, you would go ahead and click onto National Operations Summary. And we are going to look at this tab 3 for sheltering. What we're going to look at is the shelter intake. So it's the second tab on the very, very top. And I'm going to have you to look at this real quick. And again, if you need this to be zoomed, click on your screen to make it to zoom. So now if you can look at this dashboard, and could you tell me, based on looking, can you tell me how many clients we currently have in all disasters across the nation? If you can type that in the chat. Okay, 174, 565. Okay. So 565 is correct. So if you can look at this side, you'll see 565 clients are checked in. In total, you have 239 household checked in as well. Let's go to the demographic summaries. If you look at this, can you tell me what conclusions you can make based on the demographic data that you see on the screen? If you can put that into the chat. So you have your gender, race, military service status, Hispanic or Latino, primary language, aging, age category. Okay, one thing that you observed, Ross, was over 100 young people. Okay, so I see this is the 105 here. Anyone else wants to make the conclusion that what do you see here for the military service status? Or what do you see the primary language here is? And it's okay if you give the wrong answer. That's totally fine. This is, we're okay, mostly women. Thank you. We're all learning here. So there's not really a wrong or right answer. So look at the diagram and tell me that what you can conclude from the military service status and primary language. Okay. So one conclusion I would think or would imagine is that I'm not seeing any other language besides English. So all the population I'm seeing for 586 is primary language is English. That tells me if I'm in the HQ or the leadership team is that we don't have any language barriers, that we don't have to bring translators or we don't need to request Spanish speakers. What I can conclude from military service status is that you see only that you only have two that is veteran. Most of them is not applicable. That means we can engage our veteran affairs, partners that to help our veterans. And you have a very small population. You don't have the majority of that as veterans. Okay, let's go to the triage. What can you tell me for the triage? Can you tell me what's the percentage of the completion? Great, 93%. 93%, great. So you can see that we have the average household size is 2.5 or 2.49. The total clients we have is 565. 93% of the triage is complete, meaning that the majority data that we have. And you can also see that most of them, they don't have insurance. You only have 26% or 27% of people that they have insurance. Okay. There are other dashboards that it's only applicable when you're assigned to the DR, disaster relief operation, and you can go ahead and submit the request form. I'm not sure if this is going to load to request the dashboard access. And when you get on there, you'll tell them what's the business justification for access this request. Most of them will be if you're working at the HQ for SRT, or if you're working at the HQ for shelters, or if you're working as HQ for mass care chief, that you can request for access for that. Let's go to the next dashboards. Again, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to read. The next one we're going to talk about is the Shelter Client Information App, SCIA. If you can take a minute to read. And if you're done reading, please give me a thumbs up. Great. So SCIA has a training sandbox that we're going to get into. Give me one second. The beauty of doing live is you have to wait for the internet connection. Okay, let's see if it'll get me there. Okay, so again, you'll see this is training. I'm not using the production side. I'm using the training side to make sure that I'm not messing up with other datas. So what we're going to is we're going to shelter ops. I'm going to select this specific disaster that I picked earlier. What I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the referral log. So from here, you can see that we don't have anything that is referred to shelter resident transition. If there is, when you're looking at it as a supervisor or as a service associate, you will go ahead and reach out to the client and reach out to the shelter supervisor. So let's go to the next one. The other one that we're going to look is the missing information report. So earlier we talked about the triage completion rate. So how do you know which client's triage is not completed? So you'll come here and you can see the households with incomplete SRT triage surveys. So you'll see a whole list of that. And again, this is a training sandbox, so all those names are made up. Okay, let's go to the next dashboard. Again, I'm going to give you a few minutes to read. This is the RC Care SRT dashboard for current operations. I'm going to minimize this a little bit so you can see this entire thing. Okay, and again, when you're done, please give me a thumbs up. If it's too small for you, does Android allow you to zoom in on the screen by pinching two fingers? Okay, I see we're almost there. I saw some thumbs up already. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and go to the SRT dashboard for current operations. So this is the SRT dashboard for current operations. So what you'll see here, again, I picked a disaster 586. This is a live dashboard. It shows you live data. We currently have 458 cases open for 568. We have 332 clients in the shelter with open SRT services. And if I'm scroll down here, that you can see the total financial assistance that we gave for SRT financial assistance were $336,057.50. So this dashboard gives you the overall view of the current operations. So if you can take a look at this one, the open SRT services by shelter, you can see the SRT services is open. The most SRT services we opened is for NCS, Hilton Airport. NCS stands for non-congregating shelter. That means it's a hotel. And if you look at the left side for the SRT caseworker assigned to open SRT cases, you can see how many caseworkers we have and how many cases they're assigned. And each block represents where the clients are staying. Okay, so we'll go to the next one and you'll see more details on the next dashboard. I do see a hand. If you want to put your your question into the Q&A or the chat, or that we can come back to you once we finish this live demo. So if you can read this, I'll give you a minute to read for the SV dashboards for the shelter overview. And again, when you're done with the reading, if you can give me a thumbs up. Thank you. I see one thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So for this one, something that I would focus on is, let me make this bigger. If I'm the supervisor, I would really focus on the SRT case escalations to see that escalations, meaning that the service associates, they have some troubles, whether it's the name spelling, whether it's issuing financial assistance, they have been escalated. So we want to pay attention to that to solve it, to resolve it. It doesn't have to be us. It can be your facilitating the process and delegating the process. Another one that I want to follow up or to pay attention is the daily shelter exits for the last 14 days as well. So let's go to the shelter overview dashboard. Okay. This is the shelter overview dashboard. So I was on 363 at the Los Angeles wildfires towards the end of the operation for NCS lodging coordination, and that's for non-congregating shelter operation. And this is the dashboard that I use most often compared to other things because this one gives me the data that I'm looking for to report. So the data that I'm reporting will be how many cases that we've contacted the clients in the past 96 hours, how many cases we have currently open, that's 13, and how many individuals in the shelter for 46. So I'm writing this as one of the daily executive summaries. So this is the dashboard I personally use the most often during operation for specific reports. And if you look on the right side, it tells you how many cases each caseworker is assigned. And you can see the who's assigned to what case as well if you click into it. So you can see here, they don't have any case escalated, and that's why there's no data here. And you'll see that we made multiple exceptions for the SRT financial assistance. Exceptions were made when they meet the criteria for receiving the assistance, and that assistance exceeds the ordinary amount that we issue that needs the DRO exception for that. So the job director or the designee can approve it. I want you to look at this estimated shelter exit dates, and if you can tell me what you can conclude from this. Or that as a supervisor, what would you ask your team when you see this screenshot, when you see this data? Okay, so I want to point out to you, this one means that the data hasn't been entered. So you have August the 2nd. So 2 clients or 2 households are planned to exit on the 2nd. We have 1 household planned to exit on August the 6th and another on August the 13th. Thank you, Dee. Why so many unknowns? That would be my question. How come the majority of the stack is unknown? So the questions I would ask, one is to make sure that it's actually entered, because sometimes it can be that we forgot to enter the shelter exit date. Maybe it's our team's first deployment. We didn't know where to enter it, so we didn't enter it. So that could be one. Another possibility is Braden mentioned that where's the client facing uncertainty in their transition plan? Does it mean that they don't have a plan? They don't know where to go. They don't know what's, it could be that they have a roadblock, that they don't have any financial resources to move to the next step. So they don't know when their exit date is. Okay. So again, this is something to help us to understand how can we help them to transition to a viable situation moving forward. Okay, and I like Kevin's answer that unknown because no exit date could be homeless or waiting for evacuation for lifting the evacuation. So another part that you can see, so we talked about homeless, we talked about, owner and renter. Another piece that you can see here says there's only one person here, one household that is homeless. The remainings are owner, renter, and friends and family. So not only one single dashboard or square that will give you the complete picture. In order to assess the complete picture, you would have to look into the whole dashboards or the client's case summary to figure out how and why they don't have an exit date, whether it's because of the evacuation stream in place or whether it's because they don't have the financial resources to move forward. Okay, let's go to, before I go to the next one, this is extremely useful. The relocation housing search information, it tells us what the clients are looking for. So you'll see that they're looking for 2 bedrooms, they're looking for 1 bathroom, they're looking for 600 including utilities, or they're looking for 1,000. They're looking for specific areas. You can see they want to be within the same town or they're within the same state. They need to have low rent temporary housing until the repairs are done. So this will be extremely helpful for us to navigate the process with them to see how we can help them transition into a more sustainable living situation. Okay, let's go to the next dashboard. Okay. The next dashboard is roadblocks. We briefly talked about roadblocks earlier. We want to understand what is preventing them from moving forward. So we have a dashboard for that, and let me go to that. Roadblocks. So I want you to look at the housing roadblocks, deposit and application fees, and also the household goods and appliances. Can you tell me what is the most roadblocks they're facing? If you can put that into the chat, I'll give you a few minutes. So the dark blue is the other household items. Light blue, it's stove. Purplish pink is refrigerator, and pink is washer and dryer. And on the left, dark blue is the application fees. Light blue is rental and security deposit. Purple is some of the utilities. And the other one is the insurance deductibles. Thank you, JS. And it is SRT's goal to help our clients to transition into a sustainable and realistic housing plans, not just to dump them on the street or not just saying that, okay, we issued you financial assistance, off you go. Okay, short funds to move in. Rental security deposits. So you'll see that most of the roadblocks that we're seeing for the housing roadblocks for deposits and application fees, they're in Crown Plaza here. And you can see the application fees, you have 18. They don't have enough rental or security deposit. They don't have utilities to pay for their utilities, or they don't have insurance deductibles. And on the right, you can see the roadway in has the most. Other household items, they have 8. Stove, they have 4. Refrigerator, they have 5. And washer and dryer, they have 5 as well. So seeing those, what it can help us with is we're able to engage other partners to see what they can support us with, what they can support our clients with. It helps us to understand the roadblocks better, to see what other resources that we can bring into our clients. Okay. Kobe, yes. So you have a choice of selecting all those. Then if anything is not listed, you put into other household items. Then you have a summary, you have a box to say that what they need. So if we can take a look at the housing roadblocks on the left for the cleanup permits and accessibility modifications. You'll see again, the roadway in here has the most roadblocks. And this one is for debris removal. You have 3. And the other one is local permits, and you have accessibility ramps for modifications. So again, the other thing I want to point out that you're not able to see in full is it says roadway in CMNS. CMNS stands for critical medical needs. And what this one means for us is that those are the people that they're vulnerable to begin with. They're either elderly, depending on the DR's criteria for DR 363, the Los Angeles wildfires. We have criteria where they have to be 60 years or above. They have to have a health needs that evaluated by our disaster health services, that they're vulnerable, or they need to have kids under 18. There are other criteria for them to meet in order to qualify for CMNS. That's the critical medical needs. So it is not surprising to me to see the diagram here that this one has the most needs because it is the most critical ones to begin with. That's why they're called CMNS. Okay. Again, you have lots of things missing documents to see what they're missing, if they're missing any documents. So this one, you'll see that Hilton Airport has 12 households that they have some missing documents there. And again, this is to help us to understand what needs they have that we can engage our external partners to assist with. Okay, let's go to the next dashboards. The next dashboards is the RCA Care Housing Liaison dashboards. This dashboard is used for housing liaisons. Let me go ahead and share with you this dashboards. So this dashboard, the target audience is housing liaison to have an understanding of the shelter residents' barriers to housing. This is not just a dashboard like, oh, you're just going to make a decision off of that. This is going to prompt conversations so that you can speak with the shelters, SRT team to see what support the housing liaison can have. And the same thing with the SRT team or the mass care leadership or the DRO leadership is to take a look at this and to see what housing liaison can support us with. So the event is off. This is current. We currently have across the nation as of 3:11 p.m., we have 13,935 cases open for SRT. And this slide tells you what counties they're with. So you'll see the most ones that we have St. Louis City. So for the housing liaison piece, this is tell us that which city or what state or which county that needs the most assistance so that we can engage the county and the city and the state resources. So again, this is the breakdown by age. Another thing we want to focus is housing prior to disaster. And again, you'll see quite a few that you have 32 households that was not entered. We don't know if they're owners or renters or homeless. The good thing we're seeing here is you only have a few households. You only have one household that is pre-disaster homeless. So maybe for for specific disaster, we don't have to engage our homeless agencies that often compared with the renters and owners. You'll see here that most of people, they're renter. And again, you'll see a huge chunk, I shouldn't say huge chunk, fair amount of people that they did not enter, whether they're owners or renters. This is again their housing search information. You saw that earlier, as in, are they willing to relocate to other cities or counties and what they're looking for. This one tells you the triage score. Yellow and red, those are the main focus for SRT. Usually purple means that they have the highest score, means they're usually pre-disaster homeless population. SS, thank you. Sorry, I can only read the initials on the screen. Thank you for asking that. I will be going through the access in just a minute when we get to that slides. So again, this dashboards provide you the overall view of disasters across the nation. So another one that you can see is FEMA assistance, whether they have any FEMA cases open. Another thing that we can help them to advocate, because FEMA has relocation assistance, rental assistance. They also have short-term housing assistance that we can connect our clients with. This is another one says, as a result of the SRT, to where did the household transition to? And you'll see that, they're transitioning to 211, Airbnb, they're transitioning to hotels, they're transitioning to other places that you'll be able to see here as well. Okay. The next dashboard I'm going to show you is going to be the CMNS one. I do not have access to that because we currently do not have we don't have an operation that has CMNS in it. So what I can show you is I can show you a screenshot of something similar. This is WebEOC mission tracker, but this has the similar purpose. The dashboard looks almost similar for CMNS and SRT dashboards. So SRT dashboards on WebEOC and CMNS critical medical needs dashboards was piloted for during our Los Angeles wildfire back in January. We made modifications since. There are additional features that you can request. One thing that is really good that when we're going on disasters, if there's additional feature that you'd like to see, whether it's in RC Care, whether it's in WebEOC, there's no harm in requesting it, as in you can talk to your supervisor to see, I'd like to see this and what benefits of it. And if your supervisor and national agrees to that benefits, they'll be more than happy to add that. So this is the mission tracker, and pretend this is not the mission tracker, this is the SRT referral. So you will see what is the client name, who is it assigned to, the priorities, the timeline, the status. So then inside, what you'll see is, once I get to that, so inside it tells you what incident it is, when it was created, and the detailed descriptions of what they need. So let's say this is a household that their homes got burned during Eaton fire, and they are they're elderly couple that they're 80 years old and they have medical needs. They need canes and they've been diagnosed with cancer, etc. They're ongoing chemotherapy. So you're going to input, I mean, not saying you, but the referring person will put in the request. So then we know why they meet the criteria for SRT referral or CMNS. And once we receive the referral, it will be assigned to SRT team or the HQ team, then they will go through the vetting process to see if people are qualified for the referral. Okay. Let me go to the next one. Let me stop sharing this and let me go to the other slide. 1 second, please. So let's talk about the SRT resources. I've shared a lot with you for the dashboards. You can play with it later on when you get access. So what resources do we have? So earlier I showed you how to search. If you search shelter resident transition, there's a whole toolkit on OneSource that gives you all kinds of information, including the checklist, including if this is the first time that you're deploying, what you're looking for. Another resource that we have is the RC Care knowledge articles. You can search, let's say if you're missing a CAP card, for financial assistance, what you do, you can put in that box and search, knowledge article will come out. Another resources we have is national hosted bi-monthly engagement sessions. That is every even month at 11 o'clock Pacific time. They're going to share the most recent updates. They're going to share with us the process change. Those sessions were recorded and you're able to find the recordings on OneSource as well. And in the event that none of us in the region can answer your questions, you can also email srt@redcross.org that they will be more than happy to answer your questions. And thank you for bringing up the access earlier. So this is how you request access. RC Care Console access, those are not automatic accesses. You will be working with your regional account authorizers, RA, or the regional RC Care app lead, that they will be able to authorize the proper permissions and access. Alternatively, you can also go ahead and open an IT ticket on volunteer connection, but at the same time, they'll still need the regional approval to give you the access. And when you're in a specific DR, disaster relief operations has disaster relief operations specific access. That particular time you will be working with your supervisor, and your supervisor will be working with the OAA operational account authorizer to get you the appropriate access for DR. RC Care does have a training sandbox. That part, you can submit an IT ticket directly to them. There's no approval process needed. You just need to submit it. There are RC Care courses that you need to take to get access. You can go ahead and search on Edge to type in RC Care, and they'll show you what courses you need. I've also listed who has access to WebEOC, National Operations Summary, and SCIA access. WebEOC access is very specific that you would have to request for once you're assigned to a disaster relief operation. The acronyms, I've spelled the acronyms out in the notes in the PowerPoint so that you can refer to that later. SCIA access is automatic. It's automatically authorized upon your DRO assignment. So once you get to the TDDR, whether it's your shelter resident team, SA or manager, or if you're a mass care chief or assistant director of operations, you get automatic access. There will be exceptions, and those exceptions can be made and requested by your DRO leadership. So let's say you're deployed as operations management SV and you don't automatically have access, you can work with your supervisor and have them to submit a exception request to the SCIA, so then you can get access, of course, with justifications. Next, I'm going to go through next steps for courses. I won't go into details. You can find everything on OneSource as well. So those are the courses that are very specific to SRT. There's a full list of courses that require, such as Everyone's Welcome, mission cards, etc. But those are the fundamental courses that you need for SRT. They're usually hosted by national, and our region will also host those in September. So if you need any of those courses, you can reach out to me, and we can be sure to get you on those courses. So talking about dashboards, I've showed you the brief overview of the dashboards. The specific dashboards and how to use them will be in the course itself, such as the SRT management data-driven SRT casework, or such as turning SRT triage data into action. So to learn more details about how to use dashboards, I encourage you to take all the courses. We have about 13 minutes left, and I've asked Braden to share with us his deployment experience to Central Texas floods and also to Missouri tornado. Braden, if you can come off and spend probably 2 minutes to talk about what dashboards did you use most often when you were assisting the HQ SRT manager, and what information do you usually use the dashboards to report? Give me 1 second. Let me unmute you. Okay, now go ahead, Braden.
Okay, hello. I'm Braden. I was a headquarter assistant manager for SRT in the Missouri tornado response and the Texas flood responses. A lot of the reporting kind of centered around talking to mass care leadership in regards to timelines for SRT casework completion and things that need to be escalated in regards to operational leadership or housing liaison action to solution specific client barriers. And so when you look at the different dashboards that Yue showed earlier, a lot of the times, like she mentioned, the SRT supervisor dashboard is kind of the second home for all SRT supervisors and leadership. And a lot of that will be looking at initial barriers, actioning specific things, and planning transition dates and transition timelines and shelter expectations for closure around different housing barriers. And a lot of that's communicating with SVs on site who would have transition plans that are kind of specific to that. And I think one thing to really quickly note as well, while SRT is very heavily focused on nuance to a client's very specific transition solution and journey, the initial transition barriers that you will find on dashboards are static. They are from the initial intake through either a SCIA demographic intake the SRT triage intake in SCIA or the SRT intake in RC care. And those barriers will just exist as the client is still has a case open with SRT. They will not go away if the barriers are solutioned, but they are good for an initial understanding. And then beyond that, making sure coordination between external organizations to find solutions specific to client needs based on their transition plans and based on the barriers they've outlined for us that you find in things like the Housing Liaison dashboard or the relocation and housing search information dashboards is where you would find those specific informations to bring action to. And usually that's around red triage clients who are the harder clients, which you would learn in the bringing triage data to action course. That's a little quick overview, UA. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Raiden. Thank you for sharing with us that those dashboards, the information, they're static, and it really requires us for our engagement with our clients to talk with them and walk them through what their next steps are and how to help them to transition into a more sustainable housing situation. And thank you so much, Kevin, for mentioning that it is very helpful to remember to filter the SRT dashboards by events so that you're only seeing the dashboards for your specific disaster relief operation only. Another thing that I find helpful, give me 1 second, let me share my screen again, if I can find my screen. Uno momento. So another thing that I find helpful is I put all the dashboards to my favorites. So then I can post, so I don't have to type every single time that, oh, I want SRT dashboards for current operations. So I've loaded them all to my favorites so then I'm able to pull up right away without searching for it because it's just right there. If I go to dashboards, it's to my left for all favorites. Okay, with that, do we have any questions? I will go ahead and allow mics in just a second. I did not see any questions in the Q&A, and I recognize we have first-time folks joining us. Thank you so much for joining. And if there's any questions, I just allowed you, Mike. If there's any questions that you want to come off mute, or if you want to pull your hand, raise your hand, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And Adela, if you can let me know your last name so I can track your hours on volunteer connections for you.
Okay, I will.
Thank you. Thank you. So you noticed that when you were in Texas that RC Care was not communicating with SCIA. So in order for RC Care to communicate with SCIA, you would actually have to link the case. And there is a step-by-step process on the RC Care knowledge article to show you how to link the access on link the case to RC Care. And that will be the only way that you are communicating with SCIA. And if SCIA is updated, you would have to unlink the case first and relink it to show the updated case. Otherwise, it will show static as well. Thank you, Adela, for typing your last name. Any other questions that we can answer for you? For those who are joining us for the first time, is this over? Oh, Vesta, go ahead. Your hand is up.
I don't know if you can confirm how often SCIA can be updated into RC Care, because I had a meeting I was in with a lot of the sheltering folks, Pacific Division today, and they seem to think that it would automatically update after the initial. And then the second point, I guess, to share is they were talking about now with SRT in SCIA, if we find out a certain household wants to divide because they want to recuperate separately, that we have to make sure we update SCIA and then make sure that gets pulled into RC Care for SRT purposes and continuity of care.
That is correct. So if you want to split a case, you would have to update SCIA first, then you would have to unlink the case in RC Care, then relink it to show the refresh. So to answer the first question is it does not update automatically. You would have to unlink it and relink it again, especially when you have clients transfer shelters. Let's say initially they were at Hilton Hotel and they transferred to Bonaventure. Once you make the transition, you would have to unlink and relink to show the changes. And we have 5 minutes left in the meeting. Jean, you're next.
I had a similar question to Vesta's first one. I'm still confused, but we'll move on.
So, okay, let's go to Braden and let me see if I can use a case and example in just a minute. Braden, you're next.
I wanted to just quickly bring up on Vesta's conversation here, because it was really, really important in the Missouri and Texas responses. It is so important if a household is going to split, you let the headquarter SRT manager know as soon as possible, because they have to split that RC Care case before even IA is given to the client. The moment any funding is given to a household in RC Care, that case is locked per national, and it is impossible for us to split the household at that point.
Thank you so much, Braden. Thank you so much for emphasizing the importance of that. So what was your solution when the case was locked, and what did you do after to solve this case, to solve the problem?
So we had to do very proactive work for other clients, but we had 3 different clients that happened to, because there was a communication gap between supervisor and leadership. And we worked it all the way up to national, and we were told no. So what we had to do is give that client other resources, but that head of household ended up ditching her family member, unfortunately, with the funding, and we couldn't give any SRT funding to the other client, and we were denied an appeal for that. So that's why I was emphasizing it.
Thank you so much. And again, this is very DR specific. The overall talking points that we're trying to emphasize is if you know the clients are going to recover separately, open the case separately. What we're experiencing for larger DRs is we have call center liaisons to call them to activate, open a case. And when they're opening the cases, the clients might not emphasizing to us that, oh, we want to recover separately. So what we did in 363 when we have those cases is we sit down with them to have a face-to-face conversation, in-person conversation, to make sure all the folks that they're saying they're going to recover separately, that they're present. We work with them separately. We open a separate case, and we let client care program know that we're open it separately, and they can issue exceptions for the case for financial assistance. But again, this is very DR specific. And again, I think, in the future, when we have continuous operations and responses, you'll see you'll respond to many operations that they are DR specific, or that 740 and 586, the Missouri and Missouri tornado and Texas flood. You see a lot of things that we are doing piloting, whether it's for evaluation process, whether it's for workforce typing, etc. So I'm asking everyone to be flexible. So let me see if I can show this, and for you to see this one. Give me 1 second. So there's a knowledge article. I know we have 2 minutes left. There's a knowledge article. So I'm just typing SCIA, and there's a knowledge article of SRT not linked to SCIA. And in the knowledge article, that is very interesting. I just opened it earlier. Isn't that interesting? That is very interesting. Give me 1 second, and let's see if we can troubleshoot. You're seeing the live version of. Okay, so how to link a shelter client record during intake, and this is the process. that you'll see, there used to be a, I do not know how come the other link didn't work, but there used to be, or when I searched earlier, there used to be a link that tells you that what happens when your records doesn't show or doesn't refresh, and it's because it's linked earlier, that you would have to remove the link first and you would have to link it again. Okay, I do see the question. We're at 6:30, so we'll take this question and we'll conclude. When you start adding a client to SCIA, do you have to complete SRT? So that, just like Braden said, it is very DR specific. Ideally, if you have the time, let's say if you have a local operation, we do suggest that you complete, once you enter the client information, you complete the SRT and you complete the CMNS at the same time. However, when you have a large disaster, when you have 200, 300 clients flooding in at the same time, I would say go ahead and complete the demographics first, register client first. Then once you get time, whether it's 24 hours or 48 hours, then you can go ahead and complete SRT. And again, SRT is not the only responsibility of the SRT team. It's the responsibility of all of us, because without that, without the triage data, we are not able to help our clients to transition into a more sustainable living situation. With that, thank you so very, very much for joining our session. Thank you so much, Braden, for sharing your experiences. Next week, the same time, we'll be going through the feeding vendor agreement, and I hope you can join us. Again, that is a live demo as well. And if there's anything additional you'd like to see, please reach out to me. If there's anything that you're seeing this one that you want to know more of, or if the format that you like to see different, please reach out to me as well. I know live demo usually is not as easy to follow as with a, with a static presentation. So thank you so much. This is recorded. Thank you so much. I will see you next week, hopefully. Thank you all.